So it's important that you don't take too much of it so that you don't start tripping. What's up guys, Alex here with Fit AP. Today we're talking about lion's mane mushroom. Now lion's mane mushroom has become a pretty popular supplement in the last few years, and a lot of people take it for its cognitive benefits. There's also research to suggest it can be used to reduce inflammation, as well as heart health, and a few other things as well. So right off the bat, I'm going to take you guys into where I first learned about lion's mane mushroom, and that's with Paul Stamets on the Joe Rogan podcast number 1385. If you guys haven't seen this, it's a great listen or a watch. It's on YouTube. Paul Stamets is pretty much like the ultimate expert on anything to do with mushrooms. And when I heard what he was saying about lion's mane, I had to look into it more, and I've been taking it ever since. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into the video.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
So, well, you know, there is good evidence that lion's mane also compensates in many of these neurogenic benefits that psilocybin does.
Stuff all the time. This is like a lion's mane elixir that I pour. Tell me if that shit's any good.
Well, it comes from China, and
is that bad?
Every Chinese expert that I've met said I wouldn't dare buy a mushroom from China.
Jesus Christ.
So
okay, so this is kind of interesting. I looked in a little bit further into why this is. I found this little article here that talks about sourcing mushrooms from China. And basically, as you may have guessed, it has to do mostly with the pesticides that they use to actually grow the mushrooms. So they use things like formaldehyde, sulfur dioxide, basically a combination of preservatives and pesticides that really aren't great to take.
we have a spoonable lion's mane.
See what you got.
And I put that in smoothies all the time, and that's my go-to. And that's exactly the research.
Can I put it in coffee?
Yeah, I put it in coffee. And Jamie, can you pull up that?
How much did I put in
the
here?
neurogenesis benefits being the arithmetic additive of cumulative, we found a synergy. So we think that lion's mane, the research has shown it increases myelin regeneration on the sheath of the nerves.
So myelin generation on the sheath of the nerves, what he's talking about is inside of your brain, the neurological pathways that your brain has, they'll weaken over time, and eventually that's what causes neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia, is that the sheathing on that pathway breaks down naturally in every person over time. And when it to a severe level, that's when you start to, like, you'll mix up words, and then eventually, like, you can have hallucinations and everything that comes along with Alzheimer's and dementia. So what he's saying that lion's mane has been proven to do is actually restore that coating on the axons and effectively increasing the rate at which the neurons in your brain that fire can talk to each other.
And the psilocybin proliferates nerve tip growth.
So it should conceivably help you learn.
This is an example. This is an unexpected result. This is lion's mane mycelium. That's showing a 14.8% over baseline. Then we have a psilocybin analog that didn't do all that great.
Which analog is this again?
I'm going to describe the analog for now.
Okay.
What he's talking about is psilocybin. As you can see here, this is the psilocybin analog. As you see, as it's scored the lowest, but when it's stacked with lion's mane mushroom, you're getting insane results.
For obvious reasons, but it's a legal analog. It creates a 7% outgrowth of neurites. But then when you stacked it with lion's mane and the psilocybin analog, there's a theoretical additive effect. 114 plus 107, 122. But we got 136. Statistically significant. The outlier actually is even higher. So the year history of use, we found that the mycelium is far more potent than the mushrooms.
And by the way, if you guys are interested in trying this out for yourself, I believe Paul Stamets' website is actually fungi.com. And obviously he's not, host defense. So he's obviously not sourcing this from China. And so if you want to make sure you're getting it in a safe way, this is where I get mine from. So pretty crazy to see that statistically significant of a change in the ability for lion's mane stacked with psilocybin to help with neurodegenerative diseases. But a lot of people are taking this as a nootropic as well. And so I found this website here that did an overview of this study done on 1 to 6 month period with 30 male and females between the ages of 45 and 64 plus. What they did is they gave them a preliminary examination before they had taken anything to give a baseline of their cognitive function. And I should keep in mind, these aren't people with any history of like cognitive decline, at least as far as like disease goes. These are just regular people. And what they found was at weeks 8, 12, and 16 of the trial, lion mane ingesting groups had significantly increased scores on the cognitive function scale compared with the placebo group. So obviously it's a more long-term thing. I wouldn't put this in the category of a stimulant or anything like that. I think it's more so to be used as something over a long period of time to prevent degenerative neurological diseases, as well as just maintaining a healthy brain. And also in that Paul Stamets podcast with Joe Rogan, he also talks about how doctors, specifically surgeons, have been known to take lion's mane mushroom pretty commonly. The reason that's interesting is because a surgeon is going to spend between 12 and possibly 24 hours on their feet at a time, doing intensive procedures where people's lives are at stake. And so to hear that they're using lion's mane to help them stay sharp for a long period of time is pretty promising as well. And remember that they saw the most effect when you stack it with psilocybin. So if any of you guys have any experience with microdosing, you know that the form of taking a psychedelic in very small doses to where you don't actually get any of the psychoactive effects, but you may get some mild energy increase, or it kind of depends on which psychoactive substance you're taking. Specifically with microdosing mushrooms, I noticed that I have an increased focus. I also noticed like when working out or doing physical activities, I feel like I have better mind to body control. And sometimes I notice kind of like a stimulant, like a caffeine type effect to it. Really not super intense at all, but it's enough to notice it for sure. Couple things to be careful about if you guys do decide to stack lion's mane with psilocybin. Obviously it is an illegal substance in a lot of places, but it's starting to be decriminalized more and more because they're finding so many benefits for it in areas like PTSD, depression. And one of the more interesting ones is it actually has been shown to help people with terminal illnesses come to terms with their own death. But a lot of these studies have been done on the actual psychoactive effects of it. And what you're after when you're stacking it on a daily basis with something like lion's mane is the microdosing effect. So it's important that you don't take too much of it so that you don't start tripping. You want to usually take anywhere between like 1/10 of a gram to max maybe 1/3 of a gram. And the tolerance for mushrooms builds extremely quickly. There's debate around what the actual numbers are, but it's pretty common that you'll hear people say that it doubles every day. So if you were to take 0.10 one day, you'd need to take 0.2 the next day to get the same effects, which is why I personally do it only like 3, max 5 times a week, but I always take a couple days off in between and try to space them out. And the effects of psilocybin are usually somewhere between 6 to 8 hours, depending on what strain. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much going to wrap it up. So we got into psilocybin a little bit, but lion's mane might possibly be less well-known than psilocybin as it's been getting a lot of buzz lately. But I hope you guys learned something, and I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.